Hey, Queen. I'm Vieira Miles, and this is the Holistic Sister Circle podcast, a show where we hear the stories of soulful women all over the world dedicated to sharing insight into why holistic health is the future and what women should do today to ensure they have the necessary tools and resources to bring out their inner royal roots, assess their body, and remedy any illness from the comfort of their home. Y'all, we are setting the royal record straight, okay? If you'd like to connect with us further, you can follow us at The Holistic Sister Circle on Instagram and join the Holistic Sister Circle Facebook group for live interviews, collaborative Q&A, and exclusive training on how to build your wellness dream team. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. See you on the other side. Welcome to another episode of The Holistic Sister Circle. Today we have Mel here with us, and she is a rapid recovery alchemist revolutionizing recovery for ambitious mompreneurs. She helps women transmute binge urges into purpose and release the subconscious blocks holding them back so they can create the lives they crave, even when nothing in their current reality says it's possible. This is where hunger becomes fuel and sabotage begins the sign. Mel, so grateful to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. Oh my God, I just got chills when you read that out.
Did
Oh,
you? I
yeah,
love
I,
that.
I'm so excited about my work. It's crazy.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, fill us in some more. Is there anything else you would love to share with us that I didn't
well,
talk about?
this is like been my lifelong work without even me realizing. So, obviously, I struggled from binge eating. And I struggled from all sorts of eating disorders for over 22 years, pretty much all my life. And this legacy that I'm leading, which is going to revolutionize recovery as we know it, came about really only the last 2 years. The puzzle was coming together. I didn't realize this was what my purpose was until it actually started coming together. And yeah, that's why I'm really excited, because even though it started coming together last 2 years, the few pieces of the puzzle that actually started creating this manifestation blueprint didn't finally come together until the last 2 months. So for me, it's like having a newborn baby. This is what I have been craving for. This is where I have gone through this up and down trying to find what it is that was right at the end of my, like what is that phrase? Right at the end of your tongue. And and then I started tracing back, and it all led up to this this moment of this binge to billions journey. And I'm so excited to talk to you about that on this podcast.
That's amazing. Now, oh my gosh, I know your story, your binge eating story, but not everyone knows it. So can you share with us what was your journey through that? What
Oh my
happened?
word. So it started really, really like very young. But I guess the connections, and it's very hard actually to pinpoint when it started, because there was a lot of things that connected to the manifestations of binge eating. And I, I've got this childhood story, where my genetic father left when I was 5, and then I associated love with food, because every time my mom would come and see my sister and I, she would take us to McDonald's. And then I associated love with men that left you and abused you. And so I had a kind of warped, unconscious connection to love. And But I didn't know that, obviously. I was completely unconscious to the manifestations of my behaviors. I then went through teenage of feeling kind of there's this empty feeling, always wanting to feel loved because of this void that had left, as a result of my genetic father leaving. And I remember actually that I had a pretty healthy connection to food despite that early connection with love and food. It wasn't until I was about 15 when a boy had mentioned that my calves looked like darts because I was doing karate and I'd got pretty muscly. And it was the time when hormones are going through my body, and at that time where I really was going through those changes and being attracted to boys. And that comment just made me spiral. I remember that day thinking to myself, well, I don't want to be muscly like that. And I stopped karate, and I was already a black belt then. So I completely stopped karate. And then I started controlling my food, and I started skipping meals. But then instead of kind of like doing things the healthy way, kind of replacing the food that I skipped with probably a balanced meal, I thought just eating a whole packet of digestive biscuits, I don't know if you know, that like big packets of cookies, was less than a meal. And I started, like, my eating just went off the rails, and it started off by dieting. And by the age of 17, I that was the journey of my eating disorders, from dieting to bulimia to binge eating to bulimia to anorexia for a while. I got down to a very scary low weight. And then something woke me up, and I realized I wanted to change. So I stayed in bulimia for a long time, and then binge eating. And I continued to do that for over 22 years, on and off, on and off. Either if I wasn't either starving myself, binge eating, I was controlling food and disguising it as healthy eating, disguising it as fasting, disguising it as macros, disguising as I'm a fit person, disguising it in whatever new scientific health kind of um, whatever way that they brought out at that time. I would then jump on that bandwagon and hide behind that visage. And I convinced myself for a long time. I even went vegan for 4 years. I lost weight. I was very proud, but there was this constant hunger, like that whisper in between your thoughts. You're washing it up, and then that sneaky thought comes in. The gaps between your thinking and your doing, there was this constant hunger, just pervasive, wouldn't go away. And then my life turned into turmoil. How's the hero's journey go? My marriage was on the brink of divorce. I was in, like, I had rage as well. Like, I grew up with rage. My stepfather was an angry person, and I became the angry person. So everything was falling apart. I had my relationship with my family, my parents. I lost friends. I was in the midst of divorce, well, practically separating from my partner. And we thought, we'd have a baby that might fix everything. But instead, I started, this is such a hard thing to say. I was so unconscious. I just started hitting my child. And that was the turning point for me. That was the turning point for me. I thought, what the freaking hell is going on here? But still, I was so half asleep because I would regret it and then I would do it again. And so, anyway, I have always had this secret desire to be a stay-at-home mum, but because I was so unconscious, I didn't do anything about it until I got fired from my job, and I had no choice but to find something that I could do at home. So I then found blogging, and then I wanted to speak about binge eating, and my coach said, you can't speak about binge eating because you're not a doctor. You have to be a doctor, or you have to be a qualified person. And I remember thinking, well, if that worked, why didn't that work when I went to see a therapist a long time ago? And I'm not, just a disclaimer here, I'm not saying I'm not saying anything against the health industry or the medical industry. They have a place in this world. Everyone has a place in this world. And I've heard so many people that have had great transformations going to their doctors. But for me, it didn't work. It triggered the hell out of me. I walked out of therapy office when I was going through the binge eating. And so I was pushed into talking about veganism. But again, that pervasive voice came in my head. And then because I was blogging, I then got exposed. It's exposed, like revealed. I don't know what the word is, but kind of really opened my eyes to the internet. I thought the internet was just like go and find DIY tools and stuff like that. And I realized that I could like do anything on there. And I saw other people talking about binge eating, and that then opened up a new door for me. And then that's when I started thinking, well, this is a possibility for me. But in the meantime, I know this sounds like it's all over the place, but it's all connected. The way that our lives are. And I think this is the reason why a lot of us feel stuck, because we don't feel like anything is connected, but in actual fact, everything is connected. So in the meantime, like I said before, my relationship with my family, my husband, they're all falling apart. My relationship with my daughter, she was only like 1. And then because I was so passionate about this, like this legacy, this binge eating, and I was doing everything I could possibly think of to make it work, all the strategies, all the business strategies. I was doing the thing, investing, and, like cut the long story short, nothing worked until I accidentally found this coach, and she started talking about this stuff that I really didn't get. And I decided to invest my last 1,500 euros in one session with this coach, because apparently it's not the strategies, it's all in my mind. And I've kind of exhausted everything by this time. I'd already blown about 40 grand's worth of money into courses, strategies, building tools and techniques and stuff. And she was kind of my last hope. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to make my business work. She knows the key. And I remember going into session and I had my notepad out and ready to take notes. She's obviously unlock something because she's doing it, she's doing what I want to do. She's really successful. And she told me to lay down. And I'm like, what do you want me to lay down for? I can't make noise when I'm laying down. And she told me to close my eyes. And after 2.5 hours of crying, of of all sorts of weird things that happened during this session, which I didn't know at the time was hypnosis, I came out of this session, and the first thing that came to my mind was, what a load of BS. And I complained because I had no idea about the mind. I had no idea about this work. And I remember sending her an email, and I said that this is not what I wanted. I thought you were going to help me with my business. This is just rubbish. How is talking about my childhood, how is healing my relationship with my dad, who's not even in the room, going to help me? And she said, just take it easy and allow your mind to process. Do what you need to do. It's too early right now. This is a 30-day container. We'll have a weekly coaching to see where you're at. So let's talk next week. Anyway, that was the initial thing. So after that day, like I said, I was fighting with my husband, huge rage. I was slamming doors, smashing plates, smashing the doors, and like I was a very violent woman. And he came home, and I was doing the washing up, and he said something, and I remember feeling this out of body feeling, thinking, that usually would pee me right off, but it's not. And that was the pivotal moment in my life. From then, I had released this pain in my chest that I didn't even know I had. That anger had actually had this pain in my chest all my life. And it wasn't until it's gone that I realized I actually had it. My business, however, didn't turn out great straight away. However, talk about releasing loads of stuff. I became like this crazy woman writing. It was like as if words and inspiration and thoughts just flew me. It was almost like I had this direct connection to freaking, I had no idea. Now I call it my greater intelligence, just flowing through me every single day, 2-3 times a day, 1,500 words just flowing out of me. My husband and our relationship started getting better and better and better. Instead of reacting and shouting, I had pause. I could do the stuff that everyone was saying. When they were saying, take a deep breath. I couldn't before. I would just react. I didn't have the capacity to take a breath. But this time, I had that gap. My relationships with my parents changed. I then properly became free from food obsessions. Up until then, I've disguised it as veganism, as healthy eating, as whatever. I then became so free that I almost think that I could control the calories that are going in my body. That is how much power there is in our minds. It's crazy. Obviously, I had to do a lot of forgiving of myself for the first year of my daughter's life because of the way that I was, but because I was so unconscious. How can, and this actually, while I'm saying this is where I became so kind of empathetic, even to narcissists, even to murderers, to all the bad things. And I know that this is my mission here, is to be the maverick, because I think I've noticed there's a lot of stone throwing at people who are bad, perceived bad. And I'm thinking, well, if you're throwing stones at them, you may as well throw stones at me, because that's the path that I went down. I was lucky enough to stumble across this work, but most of us don't get an opportunity. So whenever I face somebody who is being abusive, I don't stand there and allow them to hit me, obviously, but there is a huge element of myself that kind of get it. I get why you're like that. And that's how I transformed one by one. I'm going through the checklist, transform my relationship with my mum and dad, because even though my dad did hit me and was very verbally abusive, I didn't realize that his love language was really taking care of us. He made sure we had food on the table. He didn't stab us. So that means there must have been some sort of love there to smack us with a slipper, because he knew he wouldn't kill us. So there, in a sick way, there is kind of love there. Although, honestly, you meet him now, you would even recognize the same man, because of like how life changes, how unconscious behaviors dictate your life. And I do believe, because of the work that I've done since that therapy session, I want to mention her name as well, because I really truly believe that we're here to share. And her name is Natasha Bray. She was the one that really opened up my mind. There's been so many people actually before that, but she was the one that introduced me into this work. And then from then I qualified the same stuff that she was doing, but then I started learning through clients, and I realized that our subconscious minds are always talking to us, always. We don't even realize it. When we yawn, it's telling us you're tired, but we ignore it. We carry on scrolling, you know. When we have fear in our body, we've associated it to something dangerous. But in actual fact, could it be we're ready for our up leveling? It's like when you understand the voices of our subconscious mind, this is when things starts changing. Everything has changed in my life because of understanding that, yeah, there may be the universe, God, and everything out there, and you can wait for them, but we actually have everything inside us. If we stop for a moment and listen, all the answers that we need are within us. And that's why I'm so excited about this work, because everything came together with this mission that I'm leading. It's far bigger than me, and I love talking to you, Vlad, because you were saying it's far bigger than you, your mission. And if you listen to every hero's journey, they didn't say, life is so easy, and then I created this thing that changed the world because it was so easy. It wasn't, because all the challenges, the things that made us fall to our knees, was actually a gift. And the exciting thing about my mission is that binge eating, the reason why I profoundly believe that I'm revolutionizing recovery as we know it, because binge eating, without people realizing, it is a map to manifestations. Because unlike most of the things that I discovered in this entrepreneurship journey, we don't really get clues very clearly, not like the clues that we used to have when we were struggling. We kind of have this thing where, am I doing it right? In some ways, I think it's easier to have the, oh my God, this friggin' failed, because now I know. what to do. But when it's like, not really too sure, is it working or not? You're like, shall I improve it? Shall I not? You know, you're kind of left in limbo. But binge eating, if you can alchemize and you can understand the voices of the binge eating, the different characteristics of binge eating at the binge eating level, every single challenge that you have in life, it follows the same format, follows it. And it's not, I'm not saying this like binge eating is the map. I'm saying that if you have binge eating, that is your map. But other people, maybe it was putting up with narcissistic relationships. That's their manifestation blueprint. Binge eating is the manifestation blueprint. Alcoholism, manifestation blueprint. Illnesses, manifestation blueprint. But if you're listening to me and something is kind of, and you have binge eating, then there's exciting news for you. Because you've been gifted. You've been gifted. You just don't know how to read it. That's all. So anyway, I'm sorry. I got into a tangent. I'm so,
No, Mel, this has been amazing. Oh my gosh, so much power-packed information here. I'm grateful to have you here. I'm grateful for just your tenacity and your warmth and your journey. You know, like you were literally put on here to make dreams and miracles possible. And I'm just excited for what you continue to do. Now, if anyone wanted to connect with you further, what does that process look like?
The easiest way to connect with me is on my personal page, which is Mel H. Lopez. Actually, no, actually, it's Insatiable Mel H. Lopez. That's the bit at the end of the Facebook link, if you put that in there. I know for some reason it's hard to search for people on Facebook, but if you use the link, the normal Facebook link, and put Insatiable Mel H. Lopez, you'll be able to find me directly on there. If not, it's the same on Instagram, Insatiable Mel H. Lopez, or my website, Insatiable Mel. So, so it's kind of easy. And the reason why I'm Insatiable Mel is because before I discovered the link between binge eating and manifestations, is that there is an insatiable hunger within all of us. And instead of fighting it, I began binging on life, binging on this wonderful creation that we're here in infinite possibilities. So we don't need to, the good news is we don't need to get rid of that insatiable hunger, but we just need to learn how to redirect that power. Because if you are a woman in binge eating and you feel that power and you can't help yourself, you're like, oh my God, can you imagine the power when you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to do this live video. I can't wait to create this course. I can't wait to create this legacy. Instead of creating the body that you don't want, instead of creating the guilt, the suffering, instead you create your fairy tale life.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much again, Mel. Till next time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Queen, thank you so much for tuning in. It truly warms our heart that you're taking the time out of your day to connect with us. If you'd like to connect with our guests further, you can find their information located in the description section of this episode. And if you found this episode helpful, share with another queen. And don't forget to connect with the Holistic Sister Circle on Instagram and Facebook. And until next week, stay blessed. Mwah.